Thanks for tuning in to India Market Close. And the close, I think the telling part about today's trade is not what the index is doing. Yes, it's about 0.25%. Yes, that IT stocks have behaved well today. And yes, the mid caps and the small caps are outperforming, and they will come up on your screen one by one. So let's get the mid caps and the small cap on screen for a minute. 1.21% higher for the mid caps and the small caps. But India VIX, that is the key thing in the session today. Is there a bit of complacency? Is there a bit of a feeling that things are going to be okay? Could this point towards a very quick upside? So therefore, would Nifty trades come into factor? And I think this drop of India VIX is something that we're going to talk to our experts about, whether there could be a swift up move on the Nifty from the current levels of 22,400 to maybe 22,600 or 700. If I can just get the call and put distribution up on the screen for a moment, because if you just see how the call positions are as of close yesterday or pre-open today, you had 22,600 as the place where the maximum OI existed. Look at this. The max OI on the call side is at 22,600, which means writers are effectively saying that until these levels are crossed, there isn't as much resistance really. And the maximum point of resistance is this. So could be pretty interesting. If we eclipse this and if this covering here, then there could be some upsides that could very quickly come in. Get the heat map up on the screen very quickly and show you what's moving on the index and maybe some stock specific moves on the BSE 500. But on the index, the Aditya Birla Group stocks and Telecom are doing very well. Grasim is up about 4%, Bharti Airtel 4%. There is strength in IT. Look at this. LTI, Infi, HCL Tech ahead of the numbers, 1.8%. Large cap IT has done really well for itself in the session. And auto has done very well for itself in the session. Maruti 1.6% higher as well. What's not done well? Sun Pharma correcting yet again. Reliance after the numbers down about 0.8%. Those two are the key sulking points. HDFC Bank continues to be lower, about 0.5% lower. Last piece, let's get the BSE 500 gainers and losers on the screen. You will see, I don't know if, we should get Vodafone, of course, up there. But right here is the star to my mind. Yes, Tejas Networks is the stock of the day, but the star to my mind is Vodafone Idea. Our short squeeze post the heavy subscription that we saw on the QIB book yesterday, bringing it up about 11%. But there is strength in Amara Raja today after Exide's move yesterday, strength in Hudson Agro because of results, strength in ITI, strength in Tejas, which is up 20%. On the losing side, M&M Financial continues to sulk. Aster is more of an adjustment because of dividend. But Spark corrects, M&M Financial corrects, Rallis post results corrects a little bit, and some bit of gravity being seen in Nippon Life as well. So that's to be watched out for. So this is the long and short of what's happening in the markets today. In moments from now, our guests will be with us and we'll try and ask our guests what to do. Dharmesh Kant will be joining us on the fundamentals, so we'll of course talk to him about that as well. But Tamanna, very quickly, anything specific that you want to mark at the broader end of the spectrum?
Yeah, some of them that you've talked about, definitely Tejas Networks, one of them. What a stellar show. Vodafone Idea, I think, has been the complete shocker of the day. Whoever didn't get that FPO is now wondering maybe why they didn't come in and all of that. Remember, a bulk of that subscription base came in right in the last day. In the afternoon, the retail book was not even fully subscribed. I think the other one I would mark out is Hudson Agro. That also on your screen, up about 9.5%, 10%. Piccadilly Agro as well, we should pick up. Again, great numbers which have worked for it. So that's also 5% up today. M&M Finance on the downside. Though this data breach, I wouldn't even call it a data breach. It's an out-and-out fraud. They get fake KYCs. This took place in their, Izol unit. And 150 crores siphoned from the company. So a lot of questions coming in on what was the kind of compliance they had in place. Why were there so many lapses that, whoever this was could get away with it. Honasa Consumers is one that I would mark. Honasa has been having the second day in a row with a pretty good run-up. Their subsidiary Derma has been doing well, and you've had an upgrade for Honasa as well. Positive brokerage reports, and that's why you're seeing Honasa up 8%. KP Energy is another one that I would mark out. They've received a 9 megawatt wind power project order, and you've seen that stock up 5%. So definitely pops of green over there. Some good news stories coming in. And Niraj, I would even say even the VIX showing the change in sentiment and the mood. That's something that, we should also point out how things have changed so dramatically in the last, I would say, 48 hours.
Yeah. I mean, the VIX is the story, as I said. It's actually VIX is the story and the dramatic fall there. Let's talk about that, the trading implication and why this could be the case as well. What is the Motilal Oswal dealing room thinking like? Siddharth Khemka Johnson to talk about that and more. And of course, how is the drop in VIX and the uptrend from yesterday's session mean for Nifty trades, Bank Nifty trades as well? Kunal Shah of LKP Securities with us. Gentlemen, both of you, thank you so much for taking the time out and being with us. I'll come to the trade in just moments from now, but Siddharth, just quick mention from you. What's the sense in the dealing room currently? Because this drop in VIX is a sharp one at that. Is there a bit of a complacency, and if so, why?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, Niraj. So I think this is because definitely a shocking thing. But if you look at a lot of events have now played out. And last week we had seen some surge in VIX on back of the geopolitical issues, which now seems to have subsided a lot, and there doesn't seem to be any cause of worry from that side. The only key events that remains is the ongoing election, which will be over the next 1.5 months, and then we'll get the result outcome in the month of June, which is also to a large extent factored into the market. So beyond that, I don't see any big event or cause of worry in the market right now, which could kind of impact the VIX.
Having said that, the question, I'll take Kunal, is why such a sharp move? It's a fairly dramatic move. What is that telling us? Because yes, things like an election result which is priced in, etc., is very well known, largely known. What do you put down as a reason for the sharp move?
Yeah, I think definitely, since majority of the events are where we have passed those events, the kind of volatility what we had seen in the market in the last week, now the things have settled down on the global front as well. So I think whatever volatility what we had a little bit because of the geopolitical tension, that also settled down. And now that's where market is, we have seen the correction in India rates. Obviously, the election result is what market has priced in most of it. Probably after that, market would take a call and we'll see the momentum coming back in the markets. But till that, I'm expecting a pre-election rally to continue. I expect Nifty to touch its all-time high levels as well. And Bank Nifty is something which I'll keep on my radar because we have banking results still lined up. So the heavyweights like ICICI, Axis, they are still left with their results. So for Bank Nifty, it is very important to stay above 48,000. If we continue to sustain there, we might head towards 49 on the upside as well.
Yeah, Kunal, what would be your top picks this afternoon?
My top pick in today's trading session, we have seen specifically the mid cap and the small cap space doing very well. On the futures front, what I feel, the energy space is looking very good. So IEX would be my pick. Here we have seen a strong breakout on the technical charts as well. Since the last 2 to 3 days, base formation was done and now a follow-up move has been seen. So I'm expecting IEX at least to move towards the levels of 160 in the short term, and eventually it should go towards 164, 165 levels as well. So IEX is something which can buy at the current levels, keeping a stop loss of 147 and looking for targets of 160 to 165 on the upside.
Just before we get on to other things, Kunal, just wondering this. There are two ways to look at VIX, right? And I know you spoke about it, but I'm just wondering, there is an argument being made that this points towards a very swift, sharp up move ahead as well on the Nifty. Could it well happen that we might see substantially higher levels, 200, 300 points higher in the next 2-3 sessions? Also, I mean, if that were to happen, we might see some unwinding on the call side as well, which are very heavily concentrated at 22,500 and 600.
Yeah, two things, Niraj. Yes, you will expect a sharp momentum. As I mentioned, we are likely to see all-time high levels for Nifty, and that swift momentum would come in. Firstly, as you mentioned, yes, the resistance is there at 22,500, 600 zone, where these are the two strikes where the call writers are still active. So I'm expecting that unwinding to come. But one more data which you need to keep on your radar is the put writers. The put writers, the highest open interest is placed at 22,000. The next is 22,200. We need to see the shift in open interest getting higher and higher toward 22,300, 400 mark. So once that starts to happen, you will see eventually the call writer unwinding and the markets getting momentum. So today's trading session and probably the next trading session where 22,300, 400 is something, the put strike which you should keep on your radar. That is where if aggressive open interest is added, we are likely for that big move what you're talking about, 300, 400 points in the next 1 to 2 days.
Okay. Okay, so that's the view there. And a bunch of stocks reacting, but you have to argue that the stock of the day has to be Tejas Networks. Now, it hit an upper circuit on strong set of earnings. Rucha brings us the key details about those. Rucha.
There was a beat on revenue and margins as reported by Tejas. However, this beat was led by the BSNL 4G deal. Now the revenue grew 4 times to 1,300 crore, while the margins were at 23% versus an estimate of 7.5%. The net profit was estimated to be at a loss of 12 crore. However, the company reported a profit of 147 crore during the quarter. Now, this growth was led by the wireless segment, largely coming from India, while the order book was at 8,300 crore, 95% of which also came from India. Now, what the management mentioned in the conference call is that beyond the overall market growth, it is also looking at several high-scale opportunities in both Indian and international markets. So, the stock was up 40% in last 5 days and 70% in...
Yeah, well, yes, it has had a move. And, before we extend that conversation, just want to mark a news flash that came in a minute ago. Also to just keep in mind, Mastec, of course, has gotten an order and that is up 3%. But NBCC order wins on FY24 on a consolidated level are up to 50%. There's a bit of a spike there too. But so those are a couple of interesting names. But Siddharth Khemka, can you comment on Tejas Networks? Did you guys look at the numbers and what's the outcome of that? Because it's not a cheap stock. It is expensive, but somebody out there likes the stock enough to bump it up 16% yesterday and 20% today.
Yeah, Niraj, so unfortunately, Tejas is not under the coverage, but if you look at the broad headline numbers, been pretty strong. Plus, what the street definitely liked is the management commentary about the positive growth, or the strong growth outlook, the strong order pipeline that they have. What we see that is that the overall telecom space has been buzzing with a lot of stocks, interest in the market for the telecom stocks, be it Bharti Airtel, which is at all-time high. Now there is a lot of interest in Vodafone on back of the series of fundraise that they have done, and there is a hope of recovery. And you have some of the equipment companies, telecom equipment companies like the likes of Tejas, which are reporting strong numbers. So I think the entire space would continue to be in momentum. We are seeing with the Reliance Jio numbers also that bulk of the 5G capex has been now done, and the expectation is that from here on the monetization of the 5G network rollout will start happening. So we'll kind of see the improvement in ARPU across the telecom players, and I think this continuous capex by the telecom players have been fueling growth for the equipment players like the likes of Tejas.
We also spoke today with Ashwini Agarwal on how Tata's acquisition of Tejas Network has helped the company stand out. Listen in.
I think the two themes that are staring out at us is that India is starting to do things at scale. And Tejas' acquisition by the Tata Group has allowed it to exploit the scale that was possible for the business. India spends a very large amount of money on telecom equipment, the hardware side of, mobile telephony and data services. And this was a very, very small company, but with a very strong technology backbone. And I think the ownership at Tata has allowed it to win at scale. And I think, what we've seen in the latest quarter is simply a small window into what the future might look like.
Okay, so that's the view on Tejas Networks complete. I mean, the numbers, of course, is what has led to this turnaround story, and fundamentally that cause is there. But of course, the Tata acquisition adds that sparkle as well. Very short break. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk about Vodafone. What a move post that FPO closing. If you didn't get in, should you now? What should you do with Vodafone? All of that coming up after the break.
Namaskar. After 5 years, we are again getting an opportunity to exercise our right to vote. This is a right which has been earned after a very long and hard struggle by our great leaders. We must not waste this opportunity. Once in 5 years, we get this opportunity to determine how our country will be governed, what will be the policies which will be followed to achieve economic, social development of the country. I have pledged that I will vote. I have appealed to all my family members and friends to come out and vote for the development of our great nation. Jai Hind, long live democracy, long live India.
Back with India market close right here on NDTV profit. So Reliance is in the red, yes. You could argue that the results didn't enthuse the street too much. So that one is in the red. But look at everything else Telecom. Sorry, I'm classifying Reliance as Telecom. But Reliance is also Telecom. But look at everything else as Telecom. Look at Bharti Airtel amongst the top gainers on the Nifty. Vodafone Idea has had a bumper run in the session today. A short squeeze of sorts that has come in. Wonder if Indus Tower has gotten onto the act as well. It was quiet in the morning, relatively still quiet, but still 2.74% higher. So big show really out here. And, Tamanna, in some sense, you could argue that in Vodafone's case, maybe it was predictable because with the kind of institutional interest that came in, and I wonder why people went short in the first place, but there's a bit of a short squeeze out there. But what's working for Vodafone is working beautifully for Bharti Airtel. That's the big thing. I mean, the unsung hero of the telecom rally for the last 1 month has to be Bharti Airtel. It's had a wonderful move and a safe move because it's the safest of the telcos if you want to really play the telco theme.
I would argue, actually, no, it's not an argument because I'm agreeing with you, but what is also working for Vodafone is what is working for Jio. And all the commentary that we've seen that Jio is going to be the next big driver for a giant like Reliance. RIL, if those tariff increases are going to come. I mean, if tariff increases do come for Vodafone with the kind of customer base it has, it will work out actually very, very well. and there might still be some sort of fight left in this player, which has seen so many twists and turns, so many renames, but still has its loyal customer base. And now with a whole new sort of avatar, it looks like it might just come back.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully people who are on Vodafone will experience good 4G and 5G in days to come. And that might help the stock earnings per se as well, because that migration will clearly help. But yeah, it's been a stunning move by Vodafone for sure. The standout poster boy. Like we said, the Tejas may be the stock of the day, but the star player today has to be Vodafone Idea. Really strong move. Kunal, on the charts, in Airtel, a Vodafone, even a Indus Tower, how do these look?
Yeah, I think if you look at the entire space, they have been doing quite well since the last 1 month. Specifically, if we talk about Indus Tower, there has been a sharp rally from the lower levels. Around 190, 200, the bottom was formed, and from those levels, the stock has been continuously moving higher. So I think the entire space looks very good. Specifically, if I talk about Indus Tower here, the kind of move that we have got, this is probably a time where there's a resistance which is placed over here at 360, 365. So if anybody is holding it from the lower levels, I think good time to book some profit and continue to hold the rest of the position. The next level is 327, 330 zone. So if you get a dip towards that level, again, that could be a good opportunity to enter into fresh long trades.
Siddharth, what do you make of a Vodafone in terms of, all of this? There are two camps, I would say. One camp saying, ki theek hai, what happens when this 12,000-13,000 crores runs out? Where's the rest of the money going to come? The other camp that says that, look, the party has just begun with all these marquee investors coming in on board. So what camp are you in when it comes to Vodafone's future?
Yeah, so I think I am somewhere in between. While the fundraise is definitely positive, and the names that have come into the FPO, that does provide some confidence. But if you look at the balance sheet and the asking rate, what is critical is that the moratorium on the debt repayment, both in terms of the spectrum as well as the AGR, would end somewhere, say for the spectrum would end in October 25, and the AGR moratorium will end in March 26. And the combined asking or the annual installment for both these would be about 43,000 crores. And they've just raised about, including the FPO, about 40,000 crores. So that is just the annual outgo that is going to come. And you just see the EBITDA of about 8,000 odd crores that they are making. So it's a big asking rate. Definitely, it's a kind of you can say stamp of approval from a lot of these marquee names that there is a hope of recovery, and the fundraise will help them improve the serviceability and hence the market share loss that they have been witnessing. But I would still go with a Bharti Airtel, which is the market leader, continuously doing well, increasing in ARPU. Capex seems to have done, so the peak Capex cycle is behind now, and healthy free cash flow generation is leading to deleveraging. So even at these valuations, I would be much more comfortable as a long-term investor into a Bharti Airtel.
Okay. So, well, Airtel, Vodafone, and well, not surprising that some of these is rubbing off on Indus Towers as well. You have to admit that stock has been one indirect prime beneficiary. The rally in Indus Towers, after being stuck in the range of 210 to 230, it's in the last 2 months has moved quite surprisingly very swiftly from near 230 to 40 odd levels all the way to 358 currently. Look at that move in the last 3 months, and predominantly coming in post in the current year, YTD that is. So really strong show for Indus Towers, arguably one of the better performing stocks, and especially after it came out of the F&O ban, has just had a wonderful move. Look at that, this year 80%, and large portion of that rally has happened essentially post Feb. So that's the point I was making. Anyways, so that's Telecom and has done well. What's not done well, unfortunately for itself, is M&M Financial. Delayed its earnings board meet. Now a new date has come out as well. But the reason why the stock is down 5.5% is because of a large fraud. Harsh Johnson with the details of that, which we've discussed all through the day, Harsh. So fine, the fraud, yes, but what next is the key question.
Well, you're right, Niraj. In fact, still details coming, or rather trickling through for us. 30th May is, of course, the new date for the Q4 numbers, which we will expect. Personnel involved, well, it's the branch, one area manager, 2 business executives. So it looks like it's not exactly a very low-level employee kind of fraud. That's one piece. The other piece is we have a few observations from analysts, and I will try to quote them. One is with regard to the quantum, 150 crore, while in the larger scheme of things does not look very, very large, probably a quarter impact, 20% of a quarter profit kind of impact. But what they seem to be suggesting is your average average disbursements for FY24 per branch is roughly 40 crore. So the 150 crore in that context is quite large because it's 3 times, and therefore spread over multiple years is the way one would interpret it. Around 3.7 times of FY24 disbursements per branch. That's the quantum. So it's fairly large in that sense, and therefore the time period may be spread over multiple years, which is what some of our sources are also telling Pragati, one of our reporters. The other piece also is with regard to the impact on earnings. It's roughly 8% odd of FY24 EPS, or rather profit after tax, as per Centrum estimates, and it's roughly 22% of Q4 PAT, which is what I already covered. It also impacts net worth by nearly 1%. In fact, specifically 0.8% for FY24. That's the net worth impact as well. So in the larger scheme of things may not be very large, but the sentiment impact is massive. In fact, Centrum has downgraded the stock to a sell. They've even re-rated in terms of their price to book maths. They've reduced the price to book from 2 to 1.5. That's the other negative, and that may continue to trickle through even tomorrow. We'll have notes coming in tomorrow as well, where there might be views as well as downgrades coming through. Target price for Centrum is 249. Target price given by Citi is 315. They are kind of playing wait and watch at the moment.
All right. So the financial impact on the overall picture might not be that much, but the fact that this could happen on their watch, and it's not a very low level involvement of personnel, maybe is what we're reflecting in the stock price as well. It's off its day is low, but still about 5.5% down. Siddharth Khemka, any thoughts on M&M Financial?
So I think, Tamanna, if you look at, as you rightly summarized, that while it may not have a big financial impact as of now, definitely puts a lot of questions on the systems and processes that the company has. And I think it's definitely a negative sentiment event for M&M Finance. While we would be pretty positive on M&M Finance previously on back of the good growth that the company had been reporting and recovery in the rural segment and the rural farm segment specifically. But now even so we are waiting and watching today. We'll come out with an update at once all the details are known, and we'll revise our estimates. But for the short term, definitely a dampener on the sentiment for M&M Finance.
Okay. Thank you so much, Siddharth, for joining us today. Always great to have you on the show. Kunal stays on with us. We'll take a very short break, but on the other side, we get you our top buy today, sell tomorrow picks.
I pledge to vote and encourage all my colleagues at Godrej Industries Limited and associate companies to exercise their voting rights. It's the essence of democracy, and we stand firmly behind it. I would also urge everyone else to vote. We are thrilled to join NDTV's pledge
to vote campaign and help spread the word in the corporate world and beyond.
Back with India market close right here on NDTV Profit. Trying to think what else has moved around a bit. There is strength in Infosys, marginal at that, if you will, but it's contributing to the gaining points. So about 0.63% higher for Infi in the session today. Of course, Bharati's been the big mover, of course, and like we said, SBI has had a decent move in trade today as well. The one stock to discuss is, of course, Reliance, which has come off quite rapidly today. I mean, it stayed lower, let me put it that way, but it's trading at the low point of the day. Kunal, for somebody who was long Reliance early morning, is this move downwards and closing in almost at the low point of the day reason enough to liquidate those longs, or are you constructive on Reliance?
Yeah, I think if you look at overall Reliance, it has been in a very sideways trend. We were waiting for that breakout about 2980, and we triggered that point. But again, we are seeing selling pressure from the higher levels post the results. So I think if somebody is holding it from the lower levels on the downside, keep 2900 as a stop loss. If that is taken out, then exit your long positions, because that is where the 50 EMA for the stock also lies. And if that is breached, we might see the correction getting sharper on Reliance. On the higher end, 2980, as I mentioned, when Reliance needs to surpass this level on a closing basis. Once that is done, we might see the rally continuing toward 3,100 levels on the upside. So I think at the current levels, if you have already long positions, keep 2900 as a stop loss. If you want to initiate a fresh position, wait for a breakout about 2980, then fresh long positions can be created.
Dharmesh, hi, good afternoon. Great to have you on the show. Now, one stock that we'd love your view about is also Vodafone. And we spoke about it briefly in the previous segment as well. But since you've come in and it is definitely the star of the day, just wanted your take on whether you see a further upside from here, those who've missed out the FPO. Is there a longer term story here to bet on?
Yeah, good afternoon, Tamanna. I mean, FPO subscription was a big surprise, and this shows about the kind of money and the liquidity which is sitting on for Indian markets and the stocks to be chased for. As far as Vodafone Idea is concerned, I think the hope trade is still on, and this is advocated by the government themselves when they said they want more players into the fray. And slowly and steadily, they will do things which is necessary for the Vodafone Idea to stay into the business and build into a profitable business. So the profitable part is the area of concern as of now, which I think the way things are moving in slowly, the way debt conversion to equity will happen from the government and the others, and follow-on equity flows will be there. I think in 3 years time frame, if we do the maths on the back of the envelope kind of a calculation, there's a likelihood of Vodafone turning into a profitable company, and then next 2 years they can enjoy the benefit of that. So having that in regard, I think if one is willing to take a slightly long-term call with some volatility in place, 24, 25 should be the valuation-wise target price for Vodafone Idea based on the current, balance sheet which they are sitting on, and if it is being repaid to the fullest. So that is the hypothesis which we work, but these are the rough calculations which I am suggesting. So answering your question, I do think there is, way to go up if investors have missed the FPO thing. Even buying at current levels should work well for them.
Okay, so it's still a buy at current levels, according to Dharmesh Kant. Another stock that has been buzzing today is Honasa Consumer. It's in focus after Jefferies has retained a buy rating with a revised target showing a 53% upside. Why is Jefferies so bullish on Honasa? Mahima is joining us with the details.
I'll start with the target price that they've given. They've given a target price of 590, which gives an upside potential of almost 53% from yesterday's closing. Now, what they've said is that the Derma Co, the arm of Honasa is the second brand to achieve a considerable scale, and now it is competing with FMCG brands like Sunsilk and Pantene. They've also said that actives-based BPC is an exciting global opportunity for Honasa, and 3 brands from this particular segment garner around 20% share overall, and TDC achieved EBITDA breakeven of around in Q3 FY24, and this is why profit ramp-up will be a little slower. However, it will take up in the H2 FY25. Now, in terms of what they like about the management, they've said that the management focus and agility along with growth mindset is something that they really like, and they have also said that offers active-based products will be garnering a leading 20% growth, and they expect overall 20% growth trajectory despite of the slowdown in Mamaearth that they've seen. So these are the overall reasons why Jefferies is bullish on Honasa.
A recent listing may not have too many charts here there, but Dharmesh, fundamentally, Honasa, do you guys at Chola like this one?
See, as far as business is concerned, I mean, they have been doing pretty well, and both organic and inorganic route which they have adopted have worked well for them, and they are buying good brands. So no questions or doubts out there. But how do you justify such kind of an valuation? I mean, 20-25% kind of an CAGR even over 20 years time frame does not justify a 1500, 1600 kind of a PE multiple right now. So that's the only challenge as far as stock price valuation is concerned and the business valuation if you compare the two. So that's the reason why we have kept away from this any kind of sort of a recommendation as far as buy is concerned on Honasa. Business-wise, nothing wrong out there. Only valuation is where justification is hard to find.
Okay, that's Honasa 8.5. Now some buckets of strength. So we were talking about Vodafone just a while back. Look at Vodafone. Look at Grasim. You look at any of the Aditya Birla Fashion. This and maybe even Ultratech, I don't know, but the entire bucket of Aditya Birla Group stocks have done really well in the session today. Kunal, you may not look at some of these stocks in this fashion, but individually from an ABFRL, Vodafone, we've spoken about Vodafone of course, but a Grasim, maybe Aditya Birla, Sun Life AMC, but this whole bucket of stocks have done well. Is there something that stands out on the charts or the derivative positions?
I think multiple stocks which are looking very good even from the current levels. First, I would highlight your AB Capital. I think if you look at the listing price, for AB Capital, which was listed in 2017. It was somewhere around 240, 250 zone. We are trading at 216. So we are almost nearing to the listing levels as well. I think I'm expecting that levels to be touched in the very short term. So 230, 240 levels is what I'm expecting for EV Capital. Already a strong breakout on the technical charts that has been visible with volume. So this rally will continue on the higher end. The second one is ABFRL. It has been a massive underperformer since a long time. And finally, we have seen the volume-based breakout that has come in. 265, which is the hurdle zone from where earlier multiple rejections were seen. In fact, in today's trading session, we surpassed that level of 265. We went toward 270. So I think in the last 1 to 2 days, we have seen a sharp rally. One can start accumulating even at the current levels. If you get any dips into the stock, utilize that to buy. On the lower end now, 230, 240 is a very strong support zone. So the stock will see multiple bounces even from those levels. I'm expecting the stock to at least go towards the levels of 300, 312 on the upside. So ABFRL and AB Capital both are looking very good on the chart perspective.
All right, a clutch of stocks that we want to talk about, and we spoke with Hudson Agro today. Hudson Agro has had a good set of numbers, and we'll play out what the management is also saying. But overall, the fact that milk prices are up and, you're going to see no end to the consumption at all. You've seen a Dodla Dairy, a Hudson Agro, Heritage Foods, Parag, Milk Foods, quite an interesting move in all of these stocks. And yeah, there you can see it on your screens. Now, how will this impact Hudson Agro's top line going forward? Listen in to what the company told us today.
Last year has been an abundant supply of milk for all the people. And this is the time to store and reserve. And we have stored and we have kept a reserve. This year we are expecting an acute summer according to the Weather Bureau. If that is the case, the flesh may not be as good as last year. But we have got a war chest of commodities. In any eventuality, the cost of inflation will not hit us. And we are well prepared to meet any contingencies without any difficulty. And we will not be surprised by the price increase or anything. And we will be able to manage with our own stock in a much better and competent manner.
All right. So Hudson Agro there, of course, numbers are also looking fantastic. And that's why you've seen that kind of an up move, triple-digit growth. Kunal, is this a stock that you like? Or, would you still be constructive on it at this level?
See, I think this is one stock where we have seen buying momentum since the last 2 days. You can see the major part of the correction for the stock is over. This is something which on the technical charts is looking very good. 1200 is the next resistance zone for the stock. Again, on the levels of 1200, we have seen multiple rejections and the stock has corrected. But the kind of base formation it has happened in the last 2 to 3 days, it has surpassed its 50 EMA as well as 100 EMA with volumes. So I'm expecting that 1200 resistance also to be taken out in the near term. So if you're trading for a short-term perspective, look for targets of 1200 on the upside. For positionally, I think it can at least go towards the levels of 1350, 1400 on the upside.
Dharmesh Kant, just your take on a Hudson Agro. Let me add a Piccadilly Agro also. I mean, not in the same space. One is milk and one is a very different product. But both these stocks firing away today. And would you see a further upside here?
Tamanna, I don't track them closely, so difficult to comment on them. Apologies for the same.
No.
I'll just take a moment on Piccadilly Agro because we interviewed the management today. And it's interesting because they've done nearly 40 crores in Q3 profit and circa 40 crores in Q4 profit. But Q3 had a one-off exceptional other income. Q4 is pure profit, EBITDA margin at 23 or 24%. They said that for FY25, the average margins may be about 20%, which is very good relative to the 4, 5, 6% that they've enjoyed in the preceding few quarters. And to Harsh's question of whether they can, we're talking about Piccadilly Agro, by the way, so we should just keep that in mind. To Harsh's question of whether they could go only 30-35% revenue growth or can they do more? He didn't say a no when the question around doubling of the revenue came in. Last but not the least, they're expanding capacity on the, this is the Indri whiskey maker, right? So they're expanding the capacity for Indri and others 2.5 times by FY25 and 5x of the current capacity by end of FY26. So it's a stock in a growth phase, looking very robust from a numbers perspective. The only pickle is that they got 3 business segments, and the sugar segment and the distillery segment, which will supply ENA to other companies, cannot be valued at 30-40 times the way consumer businesses are. Those 2 segments will get valued at maybe 10-12 times, and that is where I think people need to be very careful when they're ascribing consumer company valuations maybe to a business like this.
Okay, fair enough, and which is why we spoke about Piccadilly Agro, and like I said, very different from Hudson Agro in the product that they sell, but nevertheless, I don't think there's going to be any reduction in consumption for both set of products. We did speak to Piccadilly Agro today on the company's growth guidance for FY25. Listen into what they said.
We should be able to, because most of the products which we have now and which are in the pipeline are all premium or super premium products. And the company decided about 4 years ago that there's a lot of pressure on the the cheaper products where the volumes are huge, but the market pressures and the inflation was affecting it very badly. And we decided that we would discontinue that segment and concentrate only on the premium segment and the luxury segment.
All right, so consumption is going nowhere, especially if it's premium products. But the question is, what is the overall trend? And important to talk about this because Tata Consumer is set to release its Q4 numbers today. All eyes on that stock, which has had a bit of a seesaw in the last couple of sessions. Now coming back into positive territory, but it's not had a great day. Mahima is joining us with what the street is expecting.
Right. So I'll start with, what kind of expectations you can have in terms of the 4 numbers that we always discuss. Revenue is expected to grow double digit around 10%. And we're expecting that the margins will improve by 100 basis points. And we expect that the net profits will also grow in double digits. Now, in terms of demand trends, the consumer staples, the demand trends is expected to be subdued. However, easing of raw material prices is something that will aid the margins. In terms of rural demand, it will continue to remain languish. However, this will be the major reason that will be dragging the volumes down. Now, in terms of revenue cost synergies, that should be a key watch out for, because this is something that we'll be seeing because of the recent acquisitions of Capital Foods and Organic India that they have made. Now, in terms of segments, beverages business is likely to grow on 9 to 10%. Tea is likely to grow on 5 to 7%. Nourishco is expected to grow around 40%. And in terms of international business, they are expected to see a growth of 6 to 7% anywhere. Now, in terms of key things that will be, the major reasons to watch out for TCPL, we'll have something like market penetration for the international business, operating leveraging benefits, and volume growth in the F&B business, which is expected to be around mid-single volume digits. So these are the key things that will be, on the radar to watch out for in TCPL.
All right, so that was Mahima with the expectations for Tata Consumer. Kunal Shah, Dharmesh Kant with us. Dharmesh, I'll come to you first. So you're going to have an interesting week as far as FMCG and the consumer space is concerned. A lot of big numbers expected, and I would say the kickoff in a sense is from Tata Consumer. Now, do you think that the fact that rural demand is still a bit sluggish, this has been said and communicated everywhere, will be priced in? What are you watching out for?
No, I don't think that sluggishness of rural demand is priced in. And the type of heat wave which is doing the rounds is going to have again a dent on the rural demand going forward. So I think any hint of a weakness out there would be difficult for these companies to sustain the current valuation multiples. A sharp profit taking can come into a play. So I would be keenly watching the management commentary and how they are guiding us to the volume growth and the blended price realization guidance. So that is on the entire pack as a whole. Coming specifically to Tata Consumer, I think it's a stock to be bought on every declines, because their 20-25% profitability CAGR is on track, and the management has been able to deliver. So premiumization everywhere is the theme which is doing the rounds, and it's likely to have a good 2-3 years going forward.
Okay, 3:20, that time of the show, we'll get in closing strategies. Kunal, a BTST or an STBT as the case may be?
Yeah, I think overall we have seen some good action even in the F&O space. So the kind of stocks which are buzzing right now, my focus will be again the stock what we discussed is ABFRL. So I think we have seen some correction from the higher levels. So I think a good opportunity to again enter into the trade. 262, 260 is where the stock is currently trading. So one can again initiate BTST at the current levels for the stock, keeping a stop loss of 254 and looking for a targets of 270 on the upside.
Okay. So, well, Dharmesh, there is a corporate action that's happened, demerger or spinning off that has happened as well. The stock is up 9%. The group as well is doing well today, but ABFRL in particular, what is the house view there?
See, we have recommended this, before this entire arrangement was announced. It was way back 1 year back, and since then the stock did not perform, whereas counterpart like Trent has been doing phenomenally well. So I don't think after this demerger and splitting of the businesses, it's going to catch the way it has been. Because still the entire business model of Trent is quite different from ABFRL, Pantaloon or the existing business. So branded business is going to have a tough time. That is the view. So what we are looking forward to is ride this momentum for 10 or 15% more and there to take the profits. So that is what we are waiting for. It's there in the portfolio recommendations, but I think at around 285.90 we would be recommending profit taking out there. So that's still, the growth we are expecting there.
Maybe FRL having a superb day. Otherwise, stock up about 9%. But apart from that, you've had a lot of move there completely on even a Suzlon. I want to mark out a Suzlon. I want to mark out, all of those spaces in the renewables as well, which have been doing fairly well today. Is this something that you're tracking, Kunal?
Something is what I'm not tracking much, but I think if you look at technical charts perspective, the stock is in a sideways trend. We are seeing rejection at higher levels around 45-46 zone, and on the lower level, the buying is visible around 36-37. So it's stuck in a very broad range, a break on either side, either above 46 or on the lower end below 35-36 level. Then we'll see trending moves coming, or else we might see the stock trading in this range only.
Range-bound trade on the markets as well today. The Nifty and Sensex now not moving too much. It's IT stocks which are actually doing fairly well on trade today. But, a bit of pressure coming in on some of those counters. A Reliance once again down, a Spark for another consecutive day. I think 8th consecutive session. A Spark is on a 5%, bottom sort of circuit. And having quite a tough time. You have a Zomato also pulling back today, down about 3% after its good run yesterday. But we are in election season, and we are talking about what you should know about your candidate and how rich is your candidate. Alex is joining us with the portfolio of one particular candidate today. Yes, Alex?
Well, it is Amit Shah that we're speaking about today, and most interesting is his stock portfolio, but we'll come to that in just a bit. Let's first talk about his taxable income that was reported in the previous financial year, and that stood at close to 75 lakh rupees. It's an increase from what he reported in FY19, which stood at about 57 lakh rupees. Now, let's take a look at some of his other assets. He's got domestic bank fixed deposits of about 1.9 crore rupees. He's got cash that was declared at just over 24,000 rupees and movable assets that amount to 20.3 crore rupees, most of which are in individual listed stocks. We'll come to that again in just a bit. Jewelry of close to 73 lakh rupees. Interestingly, he does not own a motor vehicle, and he's got no mutual fund investments either. The total value of his property stands at about 16.3 crore rupees, and he's got agricultural land, non-agricultural land, as well as commercial buildings and residential buildings and flats. Now, let's come to his stock portfolio, which is, in fact, the most interesting part. He's got 185 stocks that are worth a cumulative amount of 17.43 crore rupees, and he's got quite a few large cap companies. You'll recognize most of these names, the likes of ABB India as well as Berger Paints. He's bet on this particular counter in the paint space and not on Asian Paints. It's quite interesting. Bharat Forge as well as Colgate Palmolive, Century Textiles as well as HUL, ITC, MRF, L&T, Nesco, Nestle India. You name it. You name the large cap, the frontline large cap, and he's got it in his portfolio. That's what I thought was most interesting.
Well, one thing though, Alex and Tamanna, Mr. Shah is not the candidate for the mutual fund show. He won't be a viewer because he doesn't own mutual funds. Yeah, but that's interesting. Alex, thanks for putting that into perspective. And interesting. I love this segment. It's a great way to marry finance and politics in some fashion.
Correct. And, what it's also telling me is that our politicians are pretty astute at investing as well. Probably they have someone helping them do it. But it shows the faith in that.
Yeah.
And that also tells you maybe why BSE is such a rage, because everyone is investing. 13% up today on BSE. It's hit a 52-week high. It's at an all-time high. Kunal, are you tracking what's next on the charts for a BSE today? We're trying to figure out why or what has changed. Is there a large trade, etc.? But for now, are you liking BSE?
Yeah, I think if you look at it, the stock is into an uncharted territory. So definitely you will see higher levels going forward. The kind of up move what we have got. A fresh breakout, especially in today's trading session after almost a 10 days consolidation period. So this could again lead the stock even higher towards the mark of 3,300, 3,330 on the upside. So I still expect some more upside in the stock in the near term. Entering into fresh positions at the current levels, the risk reward would not match. So if you get any dips in the stock, utilize that. But if you are already holding, keep on continuing holding the stock. There is still 100 to 150 points upside left on the stock.
Dharmesh, can I quickly wrap up with maybe a BSE if you look at that one. Fundamentally, is there more upside here?
Yeah, I will give you a very simple answer. The thesis is this active participants of the market is going to grow by 5x in next 7 to 8 years. So that way, fundamentally, even at current level of activity, the earnings will go by 5x for BSE. So it's still a double from here.
All right. The markets have dipped last couple of minutes. Just before we wrap up, Dharmesh, NBCC has seen a spike because of new orders and a business update that they gave, that's just come in. It's off those highs though, but still about 6.5–7%. Any view on an NBCC?
Yeah, I mean, it's a constructive view, but as of now, we don't have any buy recommendation on the stock. It's more of a hold kind of a recommendation, which we have been maintaining for the last 6 months. So orders are trickling in, flowing thick and fast, and so has been the space with all the infra and construction companies belonging to the government side. So continue holding the position.
Okay, Dharmesh as well as Kunal, thank you so much, both of you, for taking the time out and being with us. Really appreciate your time. Let's start wrapping up the markets. And very quickly, like we said, the Nifty's come off. It's ending very, very flat. I don't know if the global cues have to do something with it. Volatility is still lower and the broader market's still very active, so which is actually a good sign. Get the heat map up on the screen. And then, of course, after the heat map, we'll show you the volatility index yet again. A lot of red now relative to what was. Sun Pharma the top loser, but BPCL. RIL is one key reason why this might be happening, because it was down 1%, now 1.5%. So piling on the losses a little bit. Some metal names featuring out there in that list as well. HDFC Bank still in the red. What's done well? The same set of stocks, no big changes. But for the fact that Nestle has moved from being the red to being 1.5% in the green. It's been a quite an intraday move for a Nestle. But before Tamanna talks about the broader end of the spectrum, should mark the VIX. India VIX should come up on your screen, and as we end the day as well, volatility has largely stayed lower. This is a crash. This is not normal. I'm sure this will pick up at some point of time, but this is just complacency of another order, really, if you will. This is not what usually happens in an election period. But Tamanna, broader markets are not complaining about all of this.
Yeah. I'm just fascinated with the India VIX and how does that drop 19%? What is everyone so excited about? Or is there something that we're missing there? But yeah, broader markets definitely doing better. And I think on the Nifty, it's RIL today, which is dragging down the index. And if you pull up the Nifty contributors, I'm sure you'll see that perhaps as well that it is, absolutely, RIL 30 points, pulling down the Nifty, Sun Pharma there, and HDFC Bank. So those heavyweights not really helping out today. But if I were to talk about some stellar sort of action points, I would definitely pick a Vodafone, because the Vodafone story today has been astonishing to say the least. ABFRL is the other one. The Aditya Birla Group companies have had a good day. ABFRL has had a good day as well, 9.5%. The demerger has been on, but the con call takeaways seem to have been something that have enthused the markets. Some spots like a Tejas Network, I thought very interesting. I want to see what Sterling and Wilson has also done today, but Tejas Network is ending the day on a 20% upper circuit. Sterling and Wilson is having another good day. They've come off their highs of the day to about 8% or up today, but still doing fairly well. So some good pockets of green there. M&M Finance I would mark out for a negative sort of news flow. But I don't know if you could have a technical bounce back, because at the end of the day, it's a 150 crore loss, which has been identified. So that leak, whatever it is, will be plugged down about 5.5%. The fact that they had to postpone their result announcement because of it is a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, and also that it's just kind of trended lower today. It's not shown any attempt at making a bit of a bounce, which is also a bit disconcerting. But yeah, maybe now issue found, dealt with. Maybe it brings about a bit of a reaction back. But
BSE is the other star.
What a star.
Intraday chart. We should pull up the BSE intraday chart. I'm trying to understand what happened there. 52-week high, all-time high, and in completely unknown territory. Towards the end, you've seen that peak being hit. 3247 was the day high for the BSE. It's going to close about 13% up. So a good day all in all. I think when an RIL sulks, it's going to be tough for the markets. We'll see if there is a recovery tomorrow. But I don't know. Are you feeling as confident as the India VIX is the big question for all of our viewers as we wrap up this edition of India Markets Close. So from Niraj, me and the team that puts the show together, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you back on India Market Open.